Tonight on the Lawyers and Podcast show, Mayor Brendan Johnson over there in Chicago, man, these illegal immigrants, they are basically getting out of control. Chicago is in for the long haul, man. Man, these migrants, boy, is basically letting the Black community know that this is now their neighborhoods. Boy, these folks, the Black community basically is now fighting back, and so the migrant crisis is getting out of control. And Mayor Brendan Johnson down there had a handful to talk about, man. These folks, man, is coming over here illegal, talking about their asylum seekers. These are not asylum seekers. These are illegal immigrants. That's what they are. But I want this one activist to talk about what the city is doing. We're going to get into all that sanctuary cities, ladies and gentlemen, tonight on the Lawyers and Podcast show. Just want to make a little quick video about these Chicago residents basically taking it to the mayor, taking it to all these other people. Let's go.
These South and West Side homeowners are angry. They believe the city has overextended itself and should be putting the tens of millions of dollars earmarked for migrants into Chicago's most vulnerable neighborhoods.
But the South Side has been under-resourced, underfunded for years, for decades. We have schools that need to be reopened. We have buildings that are abandoned that need to be business operated.
The group says the city has abandoned its Invest Southwest initiative, a Lightfoot-era program that was dedicated to reversing decades of disinvestment on Chicago's South and West Sides, promising to align more than $2.2 billion through public and private funding.
We are taxpayers, we're property owners. Our money should go towards fixing our communities.
The city has received more than 15,000 migrants since August 2022.
We have no more room. Y'all are embarrassing Chicago as a whole.
According to analysis by the ABC7 data team, there are more than 20 active migrant shelters across the city, 7 located on the South and West Sides.
Whether it's one shelter or whether it's 10 shelters, we're saying the facilities that are there for us, the money needs to be put into those facilities for us.
In a statement from the mayor's office about the group's concerns and the status of Invest Southwest, a spokesperson says in part, quote, "We are committed to continued investment for all residents, but especially communities on the South and West Sides that have long experienced disinvestment. We are the city of Chicago, and our shoulders are big enough to support both new arrivals and those who have long called this city home."
Mayor Johnson, the Black aldermen, the Black alderwomen in this city, you will stand for the Black citizens of Chicago.
Now, the city says Mayor Johnson knows firsthand the impact of neglect on a vulnerable community and that he will never stop investing in people, all people, and delivering the affordable housing, fully funded schools, safer streets, and living wages that every person deserves in this city. So obviously you're hearing the mayor saying that the city it has big enough shoulders to handle both the South and West Sides, all of the neighborhoods, as well as the new arrivals. But of course, the people you heard from, they believe otherwise, and they're hoping that more attention be focused on the South and West Sides.
One of many layers to the migrant crisis, yes. Certainly.
What?
Okay, now these so-called new arrivals that they keep talking about, okay, they're the one, Joe Biden got this border wide open, and they keep on calling them asylum seekers. And these people are not asylum seekers. They're not running from no real danger. These folks are coming over here illegally because they were told that the borders will be open and that they will get a free ride in New America. That's what they were told. And they need some place for these people to go. And of course, you know, these Democrats are going to always rely up on the Black community because for years, Black folks have been sitting back, letting the Democrats, I like to call them, And I'm not saying Republicans are any better, but they have been letting these folks basically lie to them. And now they're seeing the pressure of calling not only cities a sanctuary city, but by putting these black folks in office who don't give a damn about black people. Now, here's the thing. We basically don't vet politicians at all. We know that in the black community, there has been our long tradition not to vet these politicians. We just see a black person and then just put them in office, you see. And that is one of the problems that we are facing here. So we're facing a huge problem here. So, man, let's go ahead and read the article. I want to give Daily Mail, I'm going to give them credit for this article, even though I'm going to attack a little bit of it. February 24th, 2024 by Daily Mail. And it's by Alex Hammer. It goes to say a black resident of Chicago was filmed berating Mayor Brandon Johnson over the city's current sanctuary status for migrants and the progressive failure to bring funds to more at-risk communities. And see, this is the problem that we have with the white media. At-risk community. What the hell is an at-risk community? You mean black communities? The exchange was recorded at Chicago City Council special meeting Thursday, called to consider whether residents should vote on a referendum of the city's sanctuary status for the upcoming year. The meeting was thus filled with debate and drew a fire statement from a woman who billed herself as the Chicago native born and breed, Lauren Lawrence. Speaking as Johnson stood at his podium, Lawrence lamented how she and others have witnessed a transition that left citizens in the lurch, almost as if a lot of people are not important here. She said, "I'm not against anyone coming in here illegally. I want to say that clearly, but for those who have not, they don't top us. They don't go before us. We're not last in line." The heated interaction comes months after the city spent nearly $1 million to build a migrant camp that was suddenly scrapped a few weeks ago, and as more than 25,000 migrants have entered the city since last year. Right? I'm not for sanctuary city, an emotional Lawrence at first began before tearing into the relatively new mayor after a disastrous 4 years of Lori Lightfoot. She continued, and the reason why I'm not for the sanctuary city is because people have waited years to come in legally, citing the massive arrivals in more than 13,000 migrants currently embroiled in the Chicago shelter system. She went on to pan city officials for continuing where Lightfoot left off. She said of asylum seekers being brought into Illinois' biggest city by busloads, not just transported on these buses, dropped off in our neighborhood. Mentioning the city's recent rise in crime, she claimed to have almost got hit several times just making it down the street. Into the meeting. This is ludicrous, she continued, pointing to the supposed double standard sworn by the city's current migrant crisis that had cost taxpayers $250 this year. There should not be two sets of laws, she declared, as residents of in needed neighborhood likely to see Southside have been left on the figurative and at times literal cold. Lawrence proceeded to turn her attention to Chicago's notorious intercity, which she painted as a victim of the city's continued sanctuary status. She suggested Johnson, a man brought up in a suburb of Cook County, had let down these predominantly black communities simply by continuing Lightfoot's guidance. Yeah, of course. Now here, these migrants are going to be the new Negro. We kept telling black folks that the migrants are going to be taking over these communities because they're trying to multiculturalize black people out. We told you what these white folks were doing. these illegal immigrants coming over here trying to then supplant us. And we've been telling Black folks, you just can't just go out and vote for a politician just because they're Black anymore. And in fact, you have to look at what the politician is giving you. And so how dare you say distressed neighborhoods and at-risk communities and all that stuff? This is what the white media is going to continue to, they're going to continue to use those broad and ambiguous words like, Dr. Claude Anderson points out, you see. And so when they got Beetlejuice out of there, Lori Lightfoot, when they got Beetlejuice out of there, then they got this weird ass fool, Brandon Johnson, they put in, knowing that anybody who doesn't do the white man's dirty work, or any Black person who don't do the white man's dirty work, they can basically, of course, they're going to find themselves in a scandal. See, no politician gets elected, no Black politician gets elected without there being a scandal behind a politician, because, of course, these white folks need a way to get you out if you're not doing what they want you to do. Okay. Now, in a minute, we're going to do a podcast on Fannie the Manny here in a minute. Man, I had to wait to all what y'all say about Fannie the Manny before I respond. But the article goes on to say that the West Side and the South Side Black communities have been earmarked for having funds. Never seen it, Lawrence said, of what she billed as a misallocation of city money. We're still waiting for those funds to continue to come into those communities. She then turned to Johnson, who, after emerging out of the gate as an unknown in a mass of competitive candidates this year, raised eyebrows with a lofty plan to relocate law enforcement funds to other services like housing and education. Brandon Johnson, many people stood behind you, Lawrence at first stated, before giving a rousing speech that caused officials to abruptly bring the Rules Committee meeting to an end, despite it being called to get citizens to take on the migrant situation. Let me stop right there. Don't you know they wanted people to also take these people in if you have an extra home or room? These folks, these Democrats, Joe Biden, all these folks, they don't lost their damn mind. Now, Jim Crow Joe Biden basically is fighting for re-election. I mean, man, every time this man hold a rally, man, don't nobody show up, because we kept telling y'all, man, don't basically vote for these folks if they're not putting anything in your pocket. Now, they have no problem giving these illegal immigrants all this money. You see, I told you the white man breaks the laws when he wants to. And that's the reason why we don't want him making all the rules no more. Okay. Now, this article goes on to write here that Brandon Johnson, that they felt let down because the day you came into office, she's referring to Brandon Johnson here, which I believe was May 15, you already had signed an executive order, she said, citing an early Johnson order that created the city's first ever deputy mayor for immigrant, migrant, and refugee rights. Now, what the hell is that? Did you hear that? They got a office for migrants and migrants' refugee rights. What the hell? The guidance instructed all city officials to take direction from the migrant mayor, Beatrice Ponce de Leon, to ensure the efficiency of Chicago's status as a welcoming and a sanctuary city. More than 5 months removed from Leon's appointment, the city is still struggling with how to address the increasing influx of asylum seekers, with Johnson in October warning that 22 busloads a day would likely be the new norm. Now, let me just tell you something while I'm reading this. Trump promised to bring them back, or to take them back. Now, listen. It's too late, because they're not going to basically just put these people on a plane and send them back. A lot of these people got court hearings. They're waiting on their status. It's not easy just to put them back into on a plane, You know, they could, some of them, the judges will hold off their cases for a long time. These folks basically, you know, even if you put Republican, I believe that these Republicans will say that, you know, saying that they will basically fix the crisis. It's not that easy. These people also are for it too. And it's not like if Trump wins that he is going to put these folks, like I said, on the plane and they're going to go back. That doesn't happen like that. These folks are getting court hearings and all that stuff. And this is what the globalists want. They want to create a situation where they disrupt the Black community at all costs. This is their plan. And this is why, you know, Black men, we are not basically listening. We're becoming more conscious of the white man now, of what his goals and intentions are, you see. It goes on to say that just last week, the situation was revealed to be worse than originally thought when records showed the city spent almost $1 million on a shuttered migrant camp at the Brighton Park lot, despite warning the site was not safe after toxic chemicals and heavy metals were found on site. The plans were scrapped weeks before a 5-year-old boy fell ill and was pronounced dead at one of Chicago's spread-thin shelters on Monday, at the warehouse with no heating, housing thousands of other migrants. Videos from inside show coughing and crying children, some so cold they were wearing snow jackets, as water leaked from the ceiling on the coats below. The shelter, meanwhile, is run by favorite healthcare staffing, one of the several contractors the city had paid tens of millions of taxpayers' dollars since September 2022 to run these temporary shelters, despite their 27 meant to accommodate thousands. More than 300 migrants remain living in police stations waiting for placement into facilities. Now, okay, so they got these migrants also in police stations, like we said before. Now, what Black people and homeless Black folks you know can stay in a goddamn police station for months? You see? It goes on to say that death of a child, meanwhile, after being identified by community members as John Carlos Martinez Rivero, is now being investigated, though an autopsy by a Cook County medical examiner on Monday supposedly came back inconclusive, right? At another meeting Monday where Johnson also faced heat, the former teacher said that they blame of John's death laid squarely with the Southern governors like Texas Greg Abbott for busing any migrants by thousands to the so-called sanctuary city. They're just dropping off people anywhere, Johnson argues. Days after migrants meeting with Lawrence spoke was called off over the outpour of criticism. Now, these people, one point is that Texas can send them back as well. They can deny the entry. And Texas basically has been talking about, well, they've sent some people at the border. So I'm trying to figure out if Texas sent a lot of people at the border, how they still arriving in buses and stuff to other cities anyway, or on airplanes or whatever they're doing. But it's going to be some It's going to be some SHIT here in a few months, though, because Black Chicago people are fed up. They're not voting for the Democrats. They're upset with Joe Biden. They're upset with these illegal immigrants. They're upset with Brandon Johnson. Boy, it's going to be, man, these Black folks are getting up. Now they waking up to all of this shit now. That is very dangerous to have Black people wake up to that, because we've been asleep for a long damn time. You know what I mean? But family, man, it is getting heated. But I wanted to just come over here and give y'all an update here. Wanted to talk more about some other stuff. You know, I got to get into this Fannie Willis stuff, man. I haven't gotten touched on that yet, and about her little situation. So we'll go do a live here in another few minutes or so. Give you some controversies, some things to talk about here on the Lawyers and Podcast show. We're here, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be talking about a lot of this stuff, man. But man. Just tell me what y'all think, man. Leave your comments, like, share, and subscribe. And just basically tell me what you think about all this stuff going on in Chicago, man. It is getting out of control out there, man. But just basically tell me what you think. All right, like, share, subscribe, and again, leave your comments. Thank you.